Have you ever wondered how a combine works? Well, I'll try to explain it as best I can using my Gleaner S77. With the corn, we have the corn head, and the corn stalk goes in, the head's off the ground about this far, and it grabs the corn stalk. The gathering chains grab it and pull it in, and these flutes guide it to those blades, and they turn in opposite directions, and they pull the corn stalk down, leaving the ear to rub on the stripper plates. That's what they're called. And it separates the ear from the stalk. And hopefully it brings in just the ear, and the gathering chains bring it in up to the auger. The auger brings it over to the center of the machine, or with a gleaner, it's not quite the center. He takes it to the feeder house, and those chains with the slats on them bring them up and take them into the rotor, to the processor, to separate the grain from the cob and everything else. This is another view of the feeder house chains bringing where they bring the crop in, it brings it up, and this is right into the rotor right here. So this is a little better view of how that all comes in. After the corn gets brought into the combine, it comes up into the rotor. And this spins, this big cylinder spins. And it's got these little teeth on here, the rasp bars. And this right here is the concave. And I can adjust this, the clearance between this and those rasp bars, however far I need it to be. With soybeans, you get it really tight because you just separate the pod. With corn, you want it wide enough to separate the kernels off of the cob, but not so far that they don't get all the kernels. And this year the ears are completely varied, and it's impossible to really get it set right. But it spins, and it brings that material around, and it makes several revolutions in here. Then it comes out this side over here. And right behind here, there's a chopper, and it chops up whatever residue comes out this way. And for corn, we slow that down so it doesn't chop it very much. For soybeans, we have it sped up, and it chops it up pretty fine. And it goes down and it blows out onto a spreader, and that spins around and spreads it all over the field in an even pattern. And then all rotors work the same. It doesn't matter what brand, they all work the same. The gleaner comes in the bottom and just naturally spins it around. The other ones are turned the other way, and it has to come in, and then they have to have a auger on the front that spreads it out on a cone to go to the outside of the rotor. Anyway, the gleaner takes less horsepower, is the biggest selling point. And then we have the augers and the accelerator rolls, which are not in such great shape, but they're working. And that throws it down onto the cleaning shoe or the sieves, and I'll show that. Here we are in the back of the combine, in the sieves underneath, and the grain falls down, and there's a blast of air that hits it. One of the more important things on a machine for a clean sample is a cleaning fan. This has a large cleaning fan. It blows a lot of air, and you've heard the phrase separate the grain from the chaff. That's exactly what this does. It separates the grain from the chaff. The grain is heavier and it falls down onto the sieves, and the sieves shake back and forth. I got some sticks in here because with the down corn, we're pulling in a lot more material than what we normally would. And there's two sieves. There's an upper one, and you can see the lower one underneath. And they both shake back and forth, and it walks all the material to the back of the combine. And as it does that, you can adjust those openings so that you can get the grain to drop down in there to go up into the machine and separate the other stuff, and it blows the other stuff out the back. And when you come out the back, we have these large fins, and the big fan that I mentioned blows that stuff, and it'll actually blow it the full width of the header, up to 30 feet, and almost up to 40 feet. And then the other spreader for the stuff that comes through the rotor is right there, and it spins around, and I can adjust the speed of that, and it will spread it the width of whatever size header I have based on some adjustments. Then after it gets the grain separated, it drops it down into the clean grain auger down here. I'll get that opened up, show you. So right here we have the clean grain auger, and it brings and it's in a trough, and it brings the clean grain up to the clean grain elevator, and this takes the grain on up the side of the combine and up into the grain tank. And I'll climb up there and show you that. Once it brings it up to the clean grain elevator, also in the clean grain elevator, at the top, you can't see it, but in that plate, there's an impact plate, and that's where the yield monitor senses how much grain we're receiving to know the yield per acre. Then it runs it up this auger, and it dumps it down into the tank, and we fill the grain tank up, and that's where all the clean corn is in the grain tank. And when it gets full, there's a sensor up here that trips it, which shines a light and sounds a buzzer in the cab, lets me know that it's full. And also I have a camera here, so I can keep an eye on things and make sure I never get any cab corn. Hey, if you like this video, you might check out some of my others. You might go ahead and subscribe, give it a like, even comment. You can tell me I'm driving too fast. Probably got my rotor speed set wrong, running the corn head the wrong speed. Probably get everything set wrong. I'm sure I'm doing everything wrong. Probably need a different color combine. That's probably the biggest problem. But anyway, if you like this stuff, you know, hit the subscribe button, give it a like, and give me a comment. Let me know what you think. There's the corn head. We'll watch that work a little bit. Now, once you get into the cab, you can control almost everything from in the cab. Here's the head to go up and down. This runs the auger in and out. Click that, it'll go up. Click it back and it'll go down. This does up and down on the reel and the speed of the head on the corn head. On the bean head, it's up and down on the reel, and you leave the speed the same. And this is deck plates in and out, or fore aft on the reel, and this is your tilt side to side. If you're running it on manual, you know, and you can control the speed of the reel, and you can control the height and how sensitive it is, and that's also sensitivity. That's the speed of the spreader on the back. Up here, we adjust the rotor speed, the concave clearance, you know, and I forgot to mention we can adjust the speed of the rotor from the cab, and the concave clearance, and the fan, how much air that blows back. And this just switches back and forth, so I can use the draper controls, and that's also a draper control deal. And these are how I adjust the sieves from the cab. This turns on the auto steer sieve. There's the throttle, and this engages the separator, and this engages the head. And this is the reverser. Sometimes you get stuff stuck in there and you have to reverse it. It's a hydraulic reverser, so I know on the deer we used to have, and I think the cat we had before, it was mechanical and you had to throttle the machine way down. This one, you can leave it wide open and just run that, and it doesn't matter, it just runs the speed the same. And this picks up the ladder, because on the gleaner, it'll rub against the next row, and with the 8-row head, so you need to be careful with that. So we pick that up. And also, when you go through gullies, sometimes it hits, and you don't want that, because you want your ladder. You want to be able to get out. Then on my combine, I have these sensors, these two little fingers here, and they feel the corn row and will steer the machine for me. That's a pretty awesome feature. This year it didn't really work. The way the corn was down, some was flat, some was standing. It would throw it off, and it would throw it off a row, and it just didn't work, and I just been running it on manual. I found that to be every bit as efficient. Here is machine functions through the universal terminal. I won't get into too much of that. There's not a whole lot there. It shows that I can't get elsewhere. This is through the universal terminal. This is the steering, and it's still thinking about things. Oh yeah, it has to have GPS even though it doesn't use GPS. That's how it works. This system has actually been very good for us. Oops. Hard to click on buttons. But anyway, if I click on this, it'll decide to steer the combine, and it'll go straight until something touches one of those sensors. So it's a good system. A lot of people are using the very similar system, just from different companies, but it is definitely great. Great stress reliever when you're trying to run this and load the grain cart and make sure you're doing a good job and check your sample. And yeah, it's good to have. Good to have that. I finished combining my corn this morning. It's taken a while, but we got it done. Wasn't really a big rush. Just got to get stuff done. Takes a while. When the corn's down, you just can't go there as fast. And I got done with my corn. And I knew a buddy of mine still had some out, and I texted him, wanted to know if he wants some out. He's like, sure, come on over, you can run my combine, that'd be great. Okay. I came over and I was running it, and the hydraulic charge pump went out of it. Things happen, things break, all mechanical stuff breaks. He's like, well, you want to go grab yours? Sure, I'll grab mine. So, his is sitting until the dealer gets there to get it fixed tomorrow. But I think he's ready to be done. So we're out here clipping along, combining some corn and helping a buddy out.